First up, we have Matt Damon. Now, I didn't know this story, but it is crazy. In an extremely odd tangent during an interview to promote his movie Stillwater, Matt Damon talked about using a homophobic word at dinner with his family. His daughter rightly intervened, leaving the table to write an essay to him about why using that particular word was wrong. Nobody was quite sure why in the year 2021 the Hollywood actor would still need that explained to him, but here we are. Our next celebrity is Ezra Miller. DC Studios saw Ezra Miller, aka comic book history's most problematic The Flash, plead guilty to 1-count misdemeanor unlawful trespass in a Vermont court. In exchange, the prosecution dropped felony burglary and larceny charges. The actor attributed their ongoing legal struggles as well as other terrible allegations to, quote, complex mental health issues. DC Studios has stood by them thus far and left the fate of the beloved character in purgatory for now. In April 2020, a video surfaced online of Ezra appearing to choke somebody at a bar in Iceland. A source later confirmed to Variety that the incident was, quote, a serious altercation at a bar, and that Miller was escorted off the premises as a result. 2 years after the incident, the woman from the clip shared her side of the story with Variety, saying that her banter with the actor about getting into a fight was meant as a joke, but her friend appeared to antagonize the situation when he told Ezra that he heard the actor did not want to fight. My friend didn't have to say that, she told the outlet. It was just a joke, obviously. But Ezra took that literally and got super mad and came running outside. Our next celebrity is Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen was written off of 2.5 Men following 8 years of playing Charlie Harper on the CBS sitcom. 2 months after Sheen was admitted to a rehab facility, the actor was fired due to his self-destructive behavior and offensive comments towards the show's producers. Here's how the network handled it. Ashton Kutcher was brought on as Walden Schmidt, who became the new comedic foil for Alan Harper. Sheen's character was revealed to have been hit by a subway train. The series finale, however, puts a new spin on Charlie Harper's absence from the show. The last episode depicts Charlie Sheen as a cartoon character who was kidnapped by his admirer, Rose. The scene takes a jab at Sheen's issues, turning his nose as a vacuum, inhaling a large pile of sugar. Interesting choice. Next up, we have Kevin Spacey. Kevin Spacey, who is set to play oil tycoon J. Paul Getty in Ridley Scott's 70s set thriller All the Money in the World, was let go from the film. In October, 2 months before All the Money in the World was scheduled to premiere, actor Anthony Rapp went public with accusations that Spacey had done some pretty bad stuff to him when Anthony was 14 years old. More than a dozen other men came forward with similar accusations against Spacey shortly afterwards. Spacey, who seemingly attempted to shield himself from criticism by coming out as gay, faced 3 separate legal cases from the accusations. All of these ended in Spacey's favor, were dismissed, or were dropped. How the studios handled it. To the extent that cancellation is a real thing, Spacey got thoroughly cancelled. He was fired from House of Cards, which proceeded with his 6th and final season without him, and he was fired from a biopic he was tapped to star in. For All the Money in the World, Ridley Scott reshot Spacey's scenes as Getty a month before its release, now with the much more age-appropriate Christopher Plummer in the role. Remarkably, the scenes only took 8 days to reshoot, and the film managed to hit its intended release date. Crazy. Our next cancelled actor is TJ Miller, and this one is so disappointing. I just watched TJ in 2016's Office Christmas Party movie. He's hilarious, but I guess he's not the best person in real life. TJ Miller, best known for starring in Silicon Valley in late 2017, also starring in the Emoji Movie, Miller was the subject of numerous public controversies, including accusations of transphobia by film critic Danielle Solzman. In April 2018, he got arrested after calling in a fake bomb threat while drunk on an Amtrak train. That's crazy. And later that year, he was accused of bullying behavior on the set of Silicon Valley by recurring actor Alice Wetterlund. How the studios handled it? Well, Miller left Silicon Valley in May before the accusations against him became public, but the actor had already filmed scenes for the blockbuster movie Deadpool 2 and recorded voice lines for the third How to Train Your Dragon movie. Deadpool 2 went ahead, but star Ryan Reynolds made it clear that TJ Miller Miller would not return for future sequels. DreamWorks Animation, meanwhile, had Miller's role in The Hidden World overdubbed by another actor, Justin Rupel. Next up, we have Constance Wu. From movies like Crazy Rich Asians and Hustlers, Constance set her sights on becoming a prominent A-lister. But in 2019, things took a turn. Quote, "So upset right now that I'm literally crying. Twitter was blowing up. Effing hell." These two were tweets from the actor Constance Wu after her ABC sitcom Fresh Off the Boat was renewed for a 6th season, and she did not seem happy about it. When one person told her, "Congrats on your renewal, great news," she tweeted back, "No, it's not." Constance even went as far to comment on the show's official Instagram account and wrote "dislike" on the post announcing the show's renewal. This was followed by intense backlash from fans and online commentators. People called her ungrateful for dismissing an opportunity that so many struggling actors would die for. They said her public dissatisfaction was a slap in the face to the cast and crew who worked on the show. They called her a diva. Jimmy Kimmel joked about her and this incident on his own show. Perez Hilton reported she was, quote, "the most hated person on the set of Fresh Off the Boat," and journalist Yashir Ali even wrote in a since deleted tweet, quote, "Constance Wu's conduct today comes as no surprise to anybody who has worked with her in recent years. She has a reputation for being rude, petty, mean-spirited, and ungrateful." After Gemma Chan, who co-starred with Wu in Crazy Rich Asians, liked his tweet. She later clarified that she accidentally liked the tweet and said, "Anybody looking for drama? Sorry to disappoint." The tweet by Ali continues saying, "I remember going to a gala later that same month hosted by a major Asian American nonprofit with a predominantly Asian American audience, and one famous Asian American comedian on stage made a joke about Constance Wu's outbursts. Everybody in the room laughed. An insider on the set of Hustlers said she was a, quote, big diva and demanded her name be on the top of the call sheet." The movie Hustlers also saw another diva on set, Miss Jennifer Lopez. Last year, a viral TikTok trend where people told their J-Lo horror stories went viral, and some of the stories are actually crazy. One user said, "I served at a restaurant where J-Lo and Ben Affleck were eating. At the end of the meal, Ben put a $100 bill down as a tip for the waitress. As Jennifer was just about to leave, she grabbed the $100 bill and replaced it with $5. Another woman took to TikTok to claim that the Jenny from the Block singer is also rude to her drivers. The TikToker claimed her father once worked for a company that Lopez often hired to provide drivers, and said that her dad would refuse to drive J-Lo after hearing stories about her poor temperament. She alleged that J-Lo does not allow the drivers to look at her or talk to her, and that even if the driver looks through a rear view mirror, they could be subjected to a scolding from the diva celebrity. Lastly, she also allegedly has a peculiar rule. They cannot let her luggage touch the ground. Next up, we have Blake Lively. Users on Reddit shared their Blake Lively horror stories, and here is what one user said, quote, "My boyfriend works in the movie studios and concerts where we live and has done small to major movies and met some pretty big movie stars because of it. The worst person he's ever had to deal with was Blake Lively. He said she was the most entitled, snobbiest, and rudest person to ever deal with. She threw tantrums on set, and she treated literally every single person like a piece of crap except for the director." The cast of Jersey Shore also had some things to say about Blake Lively. While the cast was taking part in a segment called Revenge of the Shady Duck Phone on Andy Cohen's talk show, they were asked, "Who's the rudest celebrity you've ever interacted with?" While the cast didn't name names at first, Snooki blurted out Joy Behar, while Sammy and Dina said Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively were really rude to them, though they all had the highest praise for Queen Bee herself, Beyonce. Speaking of Ryan Reynolds, he is also known in Hollywood for being super nice to high-profile celebs, but not really anyone else lower on the totem pole, except for A-list star Salma Hayek. Hayek and Reynolds made an appearance on BBC Radio 1 to talk about their experience working together on the film Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. During the course of the conversation, the Mexican actor, who's known to have a strong Hispanic accent, revealed how Reynolds gave her a very hard time in one scene in which her character was trying to put on a British accent. Quote, "Reynolds traumatized me. He thought I was terrible with my British accent. I didn't think so. I thought I was a natural Brit, and I said to him, 'Ryan, does it sound good?' He said, "Just give it up. It's 3 in the morning, I cannot help you with that. Do I look like a miracle worker?" A user on Reddit also gave their thoughts on Ryan Reynolds, saying, quote, "He was a well-known a-hole on set and to people in general, which is why his career was fizzling out for a while. Hugh Jackman saved him. Apparently, he told him that he can't keep going like this or nobody will work with him anymore. He cleaned up his act, but somehow I can't help but feel that the a-hole is still there, under the whole persona he has going in public." Number 1, we have Jared Leto. Leto is an actor known to be method. And if you don't know what method acting means, it is a technique or type of acting in which an actor aspires to encourage sincere and emotionally expressive performances by fully inhabiting the role of the character. So basically, aka never breaking character on or off set. Jared Leto stayed completely in character as the Joker and sent his castmates disturbing gifts, and his co-stars had some things to say about it. After he sent Viola Davis a box of bullets, she almost had her pepper spray out. She told E! News, "It was a little worrisome, it made you a little bit nervous, and I'm pretty tough. You know, I got into a few fights when I was growing up, but it scared me a little bit." But it doesn't stop there. Viola also said Jared introduced himself to the cast by sending them a dead pig and sent Margot Robbie, who is playing Harley Quinn, a black rat in a box in which Margot kept as a pet. Next on the list we have Jennifer Aniston. Known as the good girl in Hollywood, Jennifer Aniston seems like she would not hurt a fly. Well, that all changed when Jay Moore, her co-star in 1997's Picture Perfect, said that his most awkward interaction with a female co-star was, quote, being on the set of a movie where the leading woman was unhappy with his presence and made it clear from day one. Although he never named any names, this was the only movie that fit the description. Maybe he's too scared Aniston's legal team will get involved if he speaks up. He also said, "I hadn't done many movies, and even though they screen tested some pretty famous guys, I somehow sneaked into the leading role." The actress said, "No way, you've got to be kidding me," loudly between takes to other actors on set. "I would literally go to my mom's house and cry." Next up, we have Bill Murray. Bill has been in the news for a while now for accusations made against him, but this particular accusation is from the year 2000, while Bill was filming Charlie's Angels. His co-star Lucy Liu had some negative things to say about him, telling media outlets that Bill hurled insults at her while rehearsing a scene. While Liu didn't specify what Murray said to her during rehearsal, she confirmed reports that the actor started, quote, "hurling insults at me after learning of new scene rewrites." In the moment, the actress had difficulty processing what was happening. "I was like, wow, he seems like he's looking straight at me. I couldn't believe that his comments could be towards me, because what do I have to do with anything majorly important at the time? I say, I'm sorry, are you talking to me?" And clearly he was, because then it started to become a one-on-one communication. From Liu's perspective, some of the language Murray used was, quote, inexcusable and unacceptable. She therefore decided to speak up in spite of the fact that she was one of the lesser known actors on set. "I stood up for myself and I do not regret it," she said, "because no matter how low on the totem pole you may be or wherever you came from, there's no need to condescend or to put other people down." Next up we have Miss Jennifer Lopez. Jane Fonda called out her monster-in-law co-star Jennifer Lopez for injuring her on set. On the Drew Barrymore show, she said, "The thing that comes to mind right away is that we have a slapping scene. I slap her, she slaps me." Jennifer, as per Jennifer, she had this enormous diamond ring. When she slapped me, it cut open across my eyebrow. And you know, she's never apologized, she concluded. But Jane Fonda isn't the only one who has some things to say about J-Lo. Last year, a viral TikTok trend where people told their J-Lo horror stories went viral, and some of the stories are crazy. One user said, "I served at a restaurant where J-Lo and Ben Affleck were eating. At the end of the meal, Ben put a $100 bill down as a tip for the waitress. As Jennifer was just about to leave, she grabbed the $100 bill and replaced it with $5. Yikes. Next up, we have Alyssa Milano. Alyssa Milano has been exposed by her Charmed co-star Rose McGowan for being toxic on set. During a Twitter spat with her former Charmed co-star, she tweeted, "You threw a fit in front of the crew, yelling, 'They don't pay me enough to do this.' Appalling behavior on the daily. I cried every time we got renewed because you made that set toxic AF." She also shared an interview clip where she told Nightline, "I don't like Alyssa because I think she's a lie." Responding in a statement to E! News, Alyssa Milano said, hurt people, commenting any further does not align with my wellness plan. Next up, we have Gene Kelly. Gene is one of the most famous actors and dancers from the 1950s, and his co-star of Singing in the Rain had some things to say about him. In her 2013 memoir, Unsinkable, Debbie Reynolds wrote that her Singing in the Rain co-star slash director Gene Kelly was a quote, cruel taskmaster. She said, "He came to rehearsals and criticized everything I did and never gave me a word of encouragement." She also alleged that he made unwanted advances towards her during their first kiss scene, writing, "The camera closed in, Gene took me tightly in his arms and shoved his tongue down my throat. Ew, what was that?" I screeched. Breaking free of his grasp and spitting, I ran around frantic, yelling for some Coca-Cola to cleanse my mouth. It was the early 1950s and I was an innocent kid who had never been French kissed before. I was stunned that this 39-year-old man would do this to me. Gene reportedly once said, "I wasn't very nice to Debbie. I'm surprised she still speaks to me." Next up, we have Lea Michele. The Glee star has been in the news lately for her apparent horrible behavior on set and off set. Replying to a tweet Lea Michele made about the Black Lives Matter movement, Glee co-star Samantha Marie Ware wrote, "Remember when you made my first television gig a living hell? 'Cause I'll never forget. I believe you told everybody that if you had the opportunity, you would poo in my wig." Amongst other traumatic microaggressions that made me question a career in Hollywood. Another co-star, Heather Morris, also had some things to say on Twitter. Was she unpleasant to work with? Very much so. For Lea to treat others with the disrespect that she did for as long as she did, I believe she should be called out. And finally, Dabier Snell, who appeared on Glee in 2014, also recounted rude behavior from Lea Michele on set. He tweeted, "Girl, you wouldn't let me sit at the table with the other cast members because I didn't belong there. F you, Lea," in all caps. Our next celebrity is Jamie Lynn Spears. Britney's little sister seems to have caused some trouble on the set of Nickelodeon's Zoey 101. Alexa Nicholas opened up in 2019 about Jamie Lynn Spears and other Zoey 101 cast members allegedly bullying her on the set of the teen show. Nicholas was notably written off the show after season 2. In addition to claims of bullying tactics like exclusion and mocking, Nicholas also revealed in 2022 that she was once lured into a room with Jamie Lynn and her sister Britney Spears under false pretenses, deliberately separated from her mother. Britney Spears reportedly screamed at Nicholas and threatened her future in Hollywood. Nicholas revealed that Britney has apologized since and called her an amazing person, noting the stress 8 months pregnant Britney was under at the time and saying that she felt Britney had been manipulated by her sister Jamie Lynn. After Nicholas's interview, Britney publicly apologized, writing on Twitter that Jamie Lynn had told her she was being bullied and that my sister was literally like my daughter growing up, so I apologize for my ignorance for yelling at you when I obviously had no idea what was really going on. Kiefer Sutherland is the next celebrity on our list, and he has some serious allegations made against him. Let's get into it. After joining the show 24, Freddie Prinze Jr. was vocal about how much he disliked the show's lead actor, and really, his entire time on the program. "I did 24 and it was terrible. I hated every moment of it," he told ABC News. "Kiefer was the most unprofessional dude in the entire world. That's not me talking trash, I'd say it to his face. I think everybody that's worked with him has said that." Prinze also took a break from acting after his stint on 24, saying that the experience made him want to, quote, quit the business. Rebel Wilson recently opened up about, quote, awful and disgusting advances from a male co-star, though she didn't name who. "He called me into a room and pulled down his pants," she revealed, saying the co-star then asked her to perform a very vulnerable act. Afraid of retaliation and wanting to be professional, Wilson stayed on the project, though she said, "Definitely amongst industry circles, I made sure people knew what happened." She had also separately revealed that a male co-star in a position of power asked me to go into a room with him, all whilst his male friends tried to film the incident on their iPhones and laughed. "I repeatedly said no and eventually got out of the room."
Kirk Cameron, a child prodigy, made his Hollywood debut at an early age, starring in various TV shows and films. Renowned for his 7-season portrayal of Mike Seaver on the sitcom Growing Pains, he also made notable appearances in films like Father Like Son and Listen to Me. However, Cameron today is less recognized for his acting credentials and is more associated with his extreme Christian ideologies. His persistent public discussions about his religious beliefs, including his views on homosexuality, have largely led to his exclusion from Hollywood. Irrespective of whether he's participating in TV interviews or using social media, Cameron persistently shares his religious beliefs and views. Kirk's early success in Hollywood was undeniable, with his talent and charisma making him a household name at a young age. However, as he grew older, his focus shifted from acting to spreading his religious beliefs. And despite the backlash and criticism, Cameron remains steadfast in sharing his faith with others. But Cameron's commitment to his religious beliefs has not only affected his career in Hollywood, but also his personal relationships. He's married to actress Chelsea Noble, who shares similar beliefs as him, and they have 6 children together. Next up, Brendan Fraser, recognized for his roles in late 90s and early 2000s blockbusters like Bedazzled and The Mummy. Brendan experienced a significant decrease in his acting roles as the 2000s progressed. Fraser attributes this downturn in his career in part to a disturbing encounter with Philip Burke, the former president of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. He alleges that Burke him at the Beverly Hills Hotel in 2003, and as a result of his defiance, the HFPA has seldom invited him to the Golden Globes since the incident. Burke disputes Fraser's narrative, insisting in his 2014 memoir that his interaction with Fraser was merely a wistful pinch on the behind. While Fraser acknowledges there may be other factors contributing to his diminished workload, he strongly believes his experience with Burke played a significant role. In recent years, the #MeToo movement has brought attention to the pervasive issue of sin Hollywood. Fraser's story is just one example of many where a powerful individual in the entertainment industry has used their position to exploit someone. Next, Roseanne Barr, the actress and comedian known for her staunch support of Donald Trump's presidency, has often been a contentious figure in Hollywood. However, in May 2018, Barr's typically fiery Twitter commentary crossed a line when she posted a racially offensive tweet about Valerie Jarrett, a senior advisor to former President Barack Obama. Barr soon deleted the tweet and offered an apology, but the damage was done. ABC responded swiftly by canceling the Roseanne reboot on the very same day. The president of the company tagged her comments as abhorrent, repugnant, and inconsistent with our values. Up next, Tippi Hedren, who embarked on her journey in the fashion industry as a model in her early 20s, but it was the iconic filmmaker Alfred Hitchcock who spotted her potential and launched her into the Hollywood limelight. Hedren's talent shone through in 2 of Hitchcock's captivating creations, the spine-chilling thriller The Birds and the intriguing psychological drama Marnie. However, the duo's professional rapport soured when Hitchcock allegedly crossed professional boundaries with unwelcome sexual advances. After Hedren decisively rejected Hitchcock and declared Marnie their final project together, a furious Hitchcock vowed to sabotage her career. He kept her tied to a contract that barred her from working for 2 years before begrudgingly selling it in 1966. Nevertheless, Hedren's tenacity saw her acting career bounce back, and she later found her voice as a dedicated advocate for animal rights. Up next, Monique, renowned comedian and actor known as Monique Angela Hicks in her daily life. First rose to fame through her hilarious stand-up shows and her unforgettable role as Nicole "Nikki" Parker in the popular UPN series The Parkers from 1999 to 2004, but it was in 2009 when she portrayed an abusive mother in Lee Daniels' film Precious that she truly took the limelight. Her stunning performance earned her an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress, setting a new pinnacle in her career. Yet, Monique's journey took an unexpected turn after her Precious triumph. In a 2015 interview with The Hollywood Reporter, she revealed that her film and TV roles had dwindled significantly. She pointed to her stance during the 2010 Oscar campaign for Precious as the reason behind her decline. She even mentioned a phone call with Lee Daniels, the director of Precious, who allegedly told her that Hollywood had excluded her for not playing by their rules. Daniels later commented on Monique's allegations, vaguely confirming her statements by saying her demands through Precious were not always in line with the campaign, which caused a rift between her and the Hollywood community. Now let's talk about an actor who's been a staple in Hollywood for many years. Yes, we're discussing Isaiah Washington. With numerous notable television and movie roles under his belt, he's no stranger to the limelight, but the role that really brought him into the spotlight was his portrayal of Preston Burke in the hit show Grey's Anatomy. However, his career took a turn for the worse after he used a homophobic slur towards a fellow cast member. The incident not only led to the exit from the show, but also put him on Hollywood's blacklist. The situation was further exacerbated when he repeated the slur following a Golden Globe win for the show. Today, while he periodically appears in roles, his career never really regained the momentum it once had. For many, this incident defined Washington's career and overshadowed his previous successes. However, it also opened up a conversation about the problem of homophobia in Hollywood and the lack of consequences for those who perpetuate it. Since then, Washington has publicly apologized for his actions and has been an advocate for LGBTQ+ rights. Despite making a stellar comeback as a director with Hacksaw Ridge in 2016, Mel Gibson continues to remain largely ostracized from Hollywood. It's unlikely we'll witness much of his acting prowess in the future. Gibson, who enjoyed immense popularity and success as an actor and director during the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, saw his career irreparably tarnished due to a series of highly publicized meltdowns. One of the most damaging incidents involved an anti-Semitic tirade during a DUI arrest, which was widely reported and condemned globally. More than a decade has passed since the incident, and while some fans have extended their forgiveness, a significant portion can't seem to shake off the recollection of his controversial actions and words. Despite his past controversies, Mel Gibson has not completely disappeared from the industry. In 2019, he directed and co-wrote the critically acclaimed film Hacksaw Ridge, which received multiple nominations at major award ceremonies, including the Academy Awards. However, it's clear that the public perception of Gibson has greatly shifted since his heyday. He's no longer the beloved actor and director he once was, but rather a controversial figure who continues to face backlash for his past transgressions. Next, CeeLo Green first made his mark in the music scene in the mid-90s, but it was his 2010 breakout single F.U., which skyrocketed to the #2 spot on the Billboard charts, that truly stamped his name in the industry. His newfound fame opened doors to opportunities such as becoming a judge on The Voice and even landing his own TV show. However, his career took a nosedive following some highly inappropriate tweets concerning homophobia. As a result, Green faced serious backlash, losing his TV show, his position on The Voice, and even being turned away from his booked concert gigs. CeeLo Green has since apologized for his actions and has faced criticism for his lack of accountability. However, he's also received support from fans who believe in forgiveness and second chances. Now let's talk about public meltdowns, and who better to discuss than Charlie Sheen. This man, once a gifted actor and among the highest paid TV stars worldwide, is now largely known for his drug-fueled, very public meltdown a few years ago. Anyone remember #winning and Tiger Blood? He was kicked off 2.5 Men, where he was making nearly $2 million per episode. Many saw him as someone who'd clearly gone off the deep end after years of alcohol, and although he has done a bit of work since then, most organizations steer clear from Sheen and his outlandish behavior. Charlie Sheen's public meltdown is a prime example of how one's personal life can have a major impact on their professional career. Despite being incredibly talented and successful in his field, Sheen's actions outside of work ultimately led to his downfall. And last on our countdown, only about 10 years ago, Vince Vaughn was one of Hollywood's busiest actors, with a flourishing career. His quick wit and charisma made him a fan favorite, especially in numerous iconic comedies. However, his presence in Hollywood seems to have dwindled recently, suggesting that his prime time as an actor might be behind him. His overlooked status is subtle and seems to stem from his limited acting range and his political ideologies. Although conservatism isn't inherently problematic, advocating for guns in all schools as a countermeasure to mass shootings can make studios hesitant. His ability to shine has also been restricted to comedic roles, often in tandem with Owen Wilson, as evidenced by his stint on HBO's True Detective.
Number 10. Chevy Chase. Chevy Chase, a popular man thanks to National Lampoon and Saturday Night Live, but he returned to the mainstream when he starred as Pierce Hawthorne in the hit sitcom Community. I genuinely love this show. Chevy? not so much. And it would appear that his Community co-stars would agree with that statement. Around the middle of the show's runtime, Chevy started to complain about his co-stars, especially Mr. Glover. It became apparent that he was more than just angry with Donald, and it was eventually fired for using racial slurs against him. According to himself, aka Troy Barnes, Chevy would often make inappropriate jokes either aimed at him or as a general way to disrupt a scene. Joel McHale told People that before he was fired, Chevy was complaining about his character on the show and how he was being portrayed. The entire cast reminded him that there was no contract keeping him there, which may have been part of what set him off on set. His character was written out in truly humiliating fashion, with his life ending after feeding his geese way too much, if you know what I mean. He was playing with them. Number 9. Tom Hardy. Mad Max Fury Road is a forgotten gem in cinema history. It featured little to no CGI despite having some awesome visuals, and it featured some pretty cool performances from its cast like Nicholas Hoult, Charlize Theron, and Tom Hardy. Charlize and Tom played the main characters, Furiosa and Max, and while their on-screen characters end up working together in the end, on set, it was a very different vibe. Tom had a bad habit of showing up late all the time, meanwhile Charlize was a brand new mother who would be there on time every day while their kids were forced to be taken care of by someone else. In a book called Red, Sweat, and Chrome, The Wild and True Story of Mad Max Fury Road, the writer Kyle Buchanan shared an instance on set between Charlize and Tom. Everyone was on set 8 AM ready to shoot except for Mr. Hardy, but at that point Charlize took her place and stayed there until Tom showed up 3 hours later. Now she didn't move a muscle, and according to the crew she was beyond furious. When Tom finally showed up, she asked him how he could be so disrespectful and said that they should fine this See You Next Tuesday $100,000 for every minute that he held up the crew. She didn't say see you next Tuesday. I really wish I could say the word that did set him off. The word she did say set Tom off, and he rushed up to her and pulled out the whole "what did you just say to me" type thing. Yeah, he didn't say it like that. He's a big tough guy. Oh, a big tough guy can't hear so good. Overall, Charlize felt pretty threatened by Tom on set and had an assistant follow her around as a buffer between them. When the shoot wrapped, the tension was gone and things seemed to have gotten better, but the difficult shoot combined with the stress is probably why Tom Hardy was never brought back for a Mad Max 2. Number 8. Jeremy Piven. Best known for his role as the timekeeper in Spy Kids 4D, All the Time in the World, and nothing else, unfortunately has an overall rough reputation in the world of Hollywood, mainly being pegged as a very difficult man to work with. Several of his co-stars over the years have called out his wild behavior. When Kim Kardashian made a cameo appearance on some indie show called Entourage, I don't know, I've never heard of it, he was very pushy towards her, trying to get her contact information. Several past girlfriends and co-stars like January Jones, Kelly Brook, and Rachel Hunter have all agreed that this guy plays the numbers game. He'll go out and get as many phone numbers as he can so that at the end of the night he can just text all of them at once and see who responds first. The most troubling incident came when he made a guest appearance on the sitcom Will and Grace, playing Grace's ex-boyfriend. Deborah Messing, who plays Grace, recalled to Andy Cohen, Watch What Happens Live, that her experience with Piven was just plain gross. She claims to have locked lips with a lot of boys in her time on stage and screen, and on the first day of rehearsals Jeremy tried to get French with her, claiming that he tried to shove his tongue down to her heart. She told him to take it easy, but apparently he refused. Not a cool move at all, and very gross indeed. This man is so mean and self-centered that he once tipped a waiter with a DVD of The Entourage. Seriously, what? Is it like a late night cable television show or something? Ooh. I'm just kidding, I know what The Entourage is. Number 7. Mike Myers. Yeah, baby, it's very shagadelic that Mike's on this list. Despite being a Canadian treasure and the man behind some comedy cult classics like Austin Powers and Wayne's World, this guy's actually apparently a menace on set. According to his Cat in the Hat co-star Amy Hill, Mike had handlers dress his entire trailer, and his work area was entirely covered with tenting. Apparently he just didn't want anybody to see him physically, which, hey man, that's fair. If I was in that cat suit with a bum crack in it, I'd probably want to hide too. His reputation as a difficult Donnie might have something to do with Hollywood blacklisting him entirely, except for his recent show The Pentaverate, which was a show where he basically played half the cast because, yeah, he couldn't get anybody else to get on the show, I guess. It might be that, or it might be the Love Guru, who knows? Number 6. Bill Murray. Now, Bill Murray has had many public feuds with many co-stars over the years that would qualify him as an entry on this list. One of his more famous feuds was with Charlie's Angel co-star Lucy Liu, but I already covered that in part 1 of this list, so today I'm going to talk about his long-standing feud with his late Ghostbusters co-star Harold Ramis. Harold and Bill famously starred opposite of each other in the classic Ghostbusters series, but they had been working together before and after the project. with Harold acting as the director on a lot of projects starring Bill Murray. The moment he was outed as one of the meanest men on set was while filming Groundhog Day. According to cast and crew, Harold and Bill would regularly get into screaming matches over the way that a scene should be filmed or how a line should be said. According to Harold, who passed away in 2014, Bill would show up late to set, well past his call time. Following the film, the two did not speak to each other for decades. It wasn't until Harold was heading out the door that Bill decided to reconcile the friendship, but by then it was a little bit too late. Of course, in the years since, several co-stars, especially female ones, have come forward to call out his extreme temper and snappiness on set, but we could do a whole top 10 about things that Bill Murray has done. Number 5. Bruce Willis. Now, Kevin Smith is a director, actor, and an absolute geek in the best of ways. In 2010, he collaborated with Bruce Willis on an action comedy called Cop Out, a story about two cops who get sucked into wild action-packed shenanigans. I don't know, I've never seen the movie. According to Kevin Smith, his time on set as a director of the project was not good, and it was mostly due to his childhood hero Bruce Willis telling him to snap out of it every time that he would mention his admiration. He went on to claim that Bruce was difficult to work with on set in general, and that a lot of the time it just felt like he was messing up scenes on purpose to throw him off. Apparently, every time Kevin would try to, do his job and direct Bruce Willis, he would just kinda tell him that he had been working in the industry for 25 years and that there was nothing that Kevin could tell him he didn't already know. He then revealed on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno back in 2012 that Bruce had actually confronted him after filming one day and asked him if he wanted to take a swing. The situation escalated to the point that Bruce didn't appear for promotional events or photo shoots, meaning that he was photoshopped into most of the pictures that you see him with co-star Tracy Morgan, who Kevin claims is actually the only reason he didn't back out of the project. Since Willis was diagnosed with aphasia, the two have been able to patch things up, with Kevin apologizing for his petty complaints. Number 4. Ryan Gosling. The Notebook is considered to be one of the better romantic movies ever made in Hollywood. Oddly enough though, the on-screen couple didn't get along at all during their shoot. Turns out they would constantly fight on set, and they seemed to have completely opposite ideas on how several of the scenes should play out. Ryan Gosling especially was a little bit of a problem. One day in particular was pretty exciting for anyone who wasn't involved. All drama watchers were sipping their tea. Ryan called over the director and demanded that Rachel was replaced by another actress to read her lines. In front of 150 crew members, he claimed that Rachel just wasn't giving him anything to work with, and the two would constantly yell at each other. Their toxic on-set feud somehow morphed into a relationship that lasted for like 2 years, but anyone who worked on the set blames them for the constant schedule setbacks and creating just a terrible work environment overall. So, I don't know, he seems better now that he's been in Barbie. Number 3. William Shatner. This one is for all of you Trekkies out there. Live long and prosper. That's all I got. I'm not as geeky as one may think, but I'm well aware of this long-standing feud between William Shatner and his Star Trek co-star George Takei. This feud has lasted for over 50 years, and according to George, it boils down to William being a prima donna attention hog the entire time he was on set. Over the years, George has always been vocal about his opinion on his fellow Star Trek cast and crew. Most of the time he has nothing but nice things to say and claims to have made lifelong friends from the project, but there is, of course, one that he despises, and it's William Shatner, who was the bane of everyone's existence on set. He loved being the center of attention and was apparently very self-involved. He wanted everyone to know who he was. William actually responded to these claims, telling people that he believed that Star Trek co-stars were damaging his good name for publicity's sake. But why would people who've barely acted in 30 years suddenly want to bash you for fame and glory? I don't know if anyone has noticed or not, but William hasn't done much either in a while, other than, petition to go to space for real, so good for him. Number 2. Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx has been a huge star in the world of Hollywood over the years, working with several acclaimed directors in basically every genre, but like most actors, Jamie had to start somewhere. And that somewhere was in the film Any Given Sunday from 1999, alongside Al Pacino, Cameron Diaz, Dennis Quaid, and Mr. LL Cool J. Cool J and Jamie played teammates in the football-centric flick, and not only do their characters constantly fight on screen, but behind the scenes, they had an actual brawl that ended in the Miami County Police being called in. During one scene, the two were scripted to fight and filmed the first 2 takes as planned, but just, faking it. However, some offset beef made its way in front of the camera when Jamie struck Cool J for real, splitting his lip open, and an all-out beatdown took place, leaving Jamie unconscious unconscious and in the hospital. They had to stop production because they just weren't sure when Jamie would actually, come back to be able to film his scenes. When Fox did return to set, it was with a small crew of friends and his manager. Waiting to greet them was LL Cool J and half of Brooklyn, according to the director, who stated that the tension was only settled after the real-life football players that the characters were based on came onto set and took care of business. And at number 1, Sarah Jessica Parker. For this entry, I'm not allowed to say the title of the show that Sarah and her co-star Kim Cattrall were on, so I'll be referring to it as Schmecks and the City, okay? Take the schm and you know what, you'll figure it out. The Schmecks and the City series is remembered for its larger-than-life fashion and flings. But even better than the show itself was apparently the dramatic on-set feud between Sarah Jessica Parker and Kim Cattrall. There was merely speculation for a long time, but their feud was confirmed when Kim was left out of the HBO Max revival, and just like that. The feud reportedly stems from Sarah receiving a massive bonus when she was given an executive producer title in season 2. When the other girls found out, Kim attempted to negotiate a new salary. Apparently, the other cast members found that out and they thought it was petty and just basically shunned her on set, refusing to sit with her at lunch. According to Kim, she began to face hardships in her personal life and was having a difficult time coping. The feud was surface level, and as time went on, things got better from what we can tell. Number 10. Bill Murray. Sony's first venture into the world of Charlie's Angels was a massive success, starring Cameron Diaz, Drew Barrymore, and Lucy Liu as the titular angels. The movie was filled with action, a bit of comedy, and one of the strangest performances ever delivered by Crispin Glover. Seriously, that guy needs some help. One interesting addition to the cast was the inclusion of Ghostbusters alumni Bill Murray as the man behind the mic in charge of the Angels, Bosley. Apparently, the set was anything but a comedy after Bill found out that a scene was rewritten without his knowledge. In an interview with the news outlet Deadline, Lucy Liu spoke up about her time on set and the situation surrounding Bill Murray's outburst. Apparently, Bill was away for a family event when a scene needed to be reshot for the movie, but instead of using a stand-in, it was decided that the scene could be filmed without Murray's character even being involved, so the scene went on without him. When he returned to find that the change was made while he was gone, he was furious. He reportedly shouted at half of the crew, including Lucy herself. At first, she wasn't sure why he was aiming his comments at her. She's not the one who wrote the scene, she wasn't the director or anything. So she asked if Bill was talking to her, which sent him into a full-on meltdown. She decided to speak out on Bill's behavior on set, and Bill was ultimately written out of the sequel. Lucy is proud for speaking her mind despite being a relatively unknown actor at the time, and has always been glad that Bill's career seems to have suffered for it, because Lucy was just the first of many celebrities to comment on his behavior, but we'll save that for another time. Number 9. Dustin Hoffman. Dustin is a very easy man to spot. Not only is he a solid actor, but he has just a very specific face. You know, Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium, anyone? That's an old one. Despite his ability to play lovable and cheerful characters, he actually started out as somewhat of a villain in the world of Hollywood. On the second day of filming his more famous part in Kramer vs. Kramer, Dustin decided to improvise a scene where he strikes Meryl Streep across the face. Let me rephrase that. Dustin Hoffman thought it'd be a great idea to strike Meryl Streep. Mamma Mia, that's not okay. Get it? She was in Mamma Mia. I'm so good at this. Not only was Meryl shocked by the move, but she recalled that Dustin was also trying to use a tactic on her called emotional recall, and was literally taunting her about her recently deceased partner John Cazale and his illness. Yay! Number 8. James Franco. Tyrese Gibson and James Franco starred opposite each other in a 2005 dramatic piece called Annapolis. The story follows Franco's character wanting to attend the titular Naval Academy and entering into a boxing tournament against some of the Navy's best and brightest. His main opponent is Tyrese Gibson. Throughout the majority of the filming, James and Tyrese would regularly practice their choreography for their final fight of the film. Now, method acting is one thing when you just pretend to be someone else all the time, but it's different when you're literally punching your co-stars for real. Instead of the normal choreography allowing actors to like fake strike each other, Franco was throwing real punches without warning. Gibson tried to be civil at first and asked him to lighten up, but Franco ignored him and continued to just box his heart out. When asked about the incident in interviews, Franco defends himself by saying that he was aware that he made the set difficult all the time, and claimed to be so wrapped up in his role that he probably just wasn't as friendly as he could have been. Gibson, however, holds a massive grudge towards Franco, claiming that he'd never stepped foot in the same room as him ever again. So good news for Tyrese, James got cancelled and Fast 11 comes out next week. Number 7, Ryan Gosling. The Notebook is considered to be one of the greatest romantic movies ever made in Hollywood, but oddly enough, the on-screen couple did not get along at all during the shoot. They would constantly fight on set and seem to have completely opposite ideas on how several of the scenes should play out. One day in particular was pretty exciting for anyone who wasn't involved, drama watchers sipping their tea, as Ryan called over the director and demanded that Rachel McAdams be replaced by another actress to read her lines with him. In front of 150 crew members, he claimed that Rachel wasn't giving him anything to work with, and the two would constantly yell at each other on set. Their toxic on-set feud somehow morphed into a toxic relationship that lasted for 2 years. Anyone who worked on the set blames them for constant schedule setbacks and creating an overall difficult work environment. Number 6, Tom Hardy. Mad Max Fury Road is a forgotten gem in cinema history. It featured little to no CGI, despite having some insane visuals, and it also featured some pretty stellar performances from its cast, including Nicholas Hoult, Charlize Theron, and Tom Hardy. But Charlize and Tom played the main characters Furiosa and Max, and while their on-screen characters end up working together in the end, on set, pretty different vibe. Tom had a bad habit of showing up late all the time. Meanwhile, Charlize was a brand new mother who would be there on time every single day, while her kids were forced to be taken care of by someone else. In a book about Mad Max Fury Road, the wild and true story of the creation of the film, the writer Kyle Buchanan shared an instance on set between Charlize and Tom. Everybody was there at 8 a.m. ready to shoot except for Tom Hardy. But to make a point, Charlize took her place and stayed there till Tom showed up 3 hours later. She didn't move a muscle, and according to the crew, she was beyond furious. When Tom finally showed up, she asked him how he could be so disrespectful and said that they should fine the CNX Tuesday $100,000 for every minute that he held her up, and the crew. She didn't say CNX Tuesday, but the word she did say set Tom off. He rushed up to her and pulled out the whole "what did you say to me" thing. Yeah, big tough guy, huh? He can't hear so good. Overall, Charlize felt very uncomfortable with Tom and had to have an assistant follow her around on set as a buffer between the two. When the shoot wrapped, the tension was gone and things seemed to have gotten better, but the difficult shoot combined with the stress is probably why there was never a Mad Max 2, which really hurts. Seriously, if you made it and you're watching this, make another one. Number 5, Vin Diesel. Dwayne Johnson and Vin Diesel first met on the set of the 5th Fast and Furious movie, Fast 5. They're really good with names. This was Vin Diesel's 5th movie, while it was Dwayne's first. Not just in the franchise, but in the acting world in general. He had been in small budget movies, but this was a big budget movie. At first, everything seemed to be okay with these guys on set. Fast 5 made a ton of money, and they asked Dwayne to return for 6 and 7. However, something changed in 2016 when, in a now deleted post, Dwayne called one of his fellow Fast 7 co-stars a candied bum. He didn't say bum, but we can't swear on the internet, so I'm a toddler today. He actually said a word that rhymes with grass. Rumors began to fly that this was more than likely referencing Vin Diesel. Rumors proven only a few weeks after the post was made. Following the premiere of Fate of the Furious, Johnson posted on Instagram thanking all of his fellow co-stars and cast members by name except for Vin Diesel. It was later confirmed by Fast and Furious co-star Michelle Rodriguez that there was a massive amount of tension on set between these guys. They were bros at first, but as time went on and the franchise evolved, so did their egos. They fought constantly over who should get more screen time, who should get more money, who was the real lead of the franchise. You know, toxic masculinity and all that. To keep both actors happy, Johnson was given a spin-off movie in which he co-starred as the lead with Jason Statham, and Vin Diesel was left right where he belongs with his family. Number 4, Janet Hubert. Will Smith got his big break in the acting world thanks to his successful time on the sitcom Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. The show followed Will as the titular prince, living with his wealthy family in Bel-Air, surrounded by cousins, uncles, and of course, Aunt Viv. In season 1, Aunt Viv was played by a woman named Janet Hubert Witten, but as a lot of people know, she was recasted after an on-set feud with Will Smith just went way too far. According to Will, Janet viewed him as an antagonist. She had been in the business for years when Will suddenly popped into her life and took lead of a show. She held a tinge of jealousy towards Will as he just walked into town, got the gig, and that's it, you know? Well, hey Janet, I'm sorry, but that's what happens when you're good at your job. She was trying to convince the producers of his show to give her character more screen time and allow her to breathe on camera, but they said no, because it's not the Aunt Viv show, okay? She fought back hard, but it was ultimately decided that she would be asked to sit out of the rest of the series and was replaced by Daphne Maxwell Reid, who is the real Aunt Viv, okay? We all know and love her. Number 3, Alyssa Milano. So, let's talk about the show Charmed for a second. This was a solid series that was on air for almost 10 years. The series followed three sisters that discover they're descendants of a line of good female witches and they're destined to fight against the forces of evil. Yeah, it was a very fun show. However, just because you play sisters on set doesn't mean that you're going to be close in real life. Rose McGowan and Alyssa Milano had a very public altercation that resulted in a little incident on set being shared with the world. Rose claimed that Alyssa threw a fit in front of the crew, yelling about not being paid enough to do the stuff that she was doing, only she didn't say stuff. She called Alyssa's behavior appalling and claimed that she cried every time the show got renewed for another season because it just meant more time on a toxic set. Alyssa never shared her own comments on the situation, confirming what she was being accused of. Number 2, Richard Gere. Richard Gere is one of those actors that doesn't really act. Sometimes people just get hired for films because they have the face for it and the style. For Richard Gere, he did not have enough class and moxie to keep a handle on his role in the film Lords of the Flatbush. He was cast to star alongside Rocky himself, Sylvester Stallone, and according to Sly, these two did not get along. Their beef was strong and long-lasting throughout production, until it finally came to a head when one day Richard was just a little bit too into one scene and grabbed Sylvester aggressively by the collar. When Sly told him to lay off, he laid in instead. The scene was being filmed on Coney Island, and when the actors took a minute to take a break, they tried to break each other. Sly was eating a hot dog alone in his car. Sounds pretty peaceful, right? But suddenly Richard stormed in to join him with half of a chicken dripping in mustard. Despite Sly's warnings about the mustard, it dripped all over his pants. And in true Rocky fashion, he elbowed Richard in the face and threw him out of his car. The altercation resulted in Richard being fired from the project. Oh no, we have to decide between Richard Gere and Sylvester Stallone. I wonder how quick that decision was. Number 1, Jared Leto. Now, Jared Leto has always been a problematic figure in the world of Hollywood throughout most of his career. After first gaining notoriety for portraying the character of Lane Dixon alongside Dennis Quaid and Danny Glover, Leto quickly began building up his acting repertoire with roles in iconic movies like Mr. Nobody, Girl Interrupted, and he even took a turn as the Clown Prince of Darkness, the Joker, in 2016, which we don't like to talk about much. It's not a good memory. Jared has always taken method acting to the extreme, losing and gaining weight rapidly over and over again, and it was in the film as the Joker where we think he might have snapped. While playing this iconic Batman villain, Leto purposefully distanced himself from his fellow actors on set, and reports are that he sent the castmates used adult toys, live animals, and deceased animals as well. At one point during filming, Captain Boomerang actor Jai Courtney found a live snake in his trailer following a long shoot day. The snake wasn't venomous or anything, but I think we can all agree that's a big nope. In recent years, he's claimed that any gifts that he sends to castmates are sent with the intent of joy and excitement, and should be received as such. But I don't know, exposing your fellow actors to your body fluids and real snakes? That doesn't sound very exciting.
At number 10, James Franco. It's no longer a surprise to anyone that James is a bad dude, but his misdeeds date back to 2005. James and Tyrese Gibson starred opposite each other in a 2005 dramatic piece called Annapolis. The story follows Franco's character wanting to attend the titular Naval Academy and entering into a boxing tournament against some of the Navy's best and brightest. His main opponent is Tyrese Gibson. Throughout the majority of filming, James and Tyrese would regularly practice the choreography for the final fight of the film. Now, method acting is one thing when you just pretend to be someone else all the time, but it's different when you're literally punching your co-star for real. Instead of the normal film choreography allowing actors to fake hit each other, Franco was throwing real punches without warning. Gibson tried to be civil at first and asked him to lighten up, but Franco ignored him and continued to box his heart out. When asked about the incident in interviews, Franco defended himself by saying he was aware he made the set difficult at times and claimed to be so wrapped up in his role that he probably wasn't as friendly as he could be. Gibson, however, holds a massive grudge towards Franco, claiming he'd never step foot in the same room as him ever again. Good news for Tyrese, James got cancelled and Fast 11 comes out soon. At number 9, Bill Murray. Sony's first foray into the world of Charlie's Angels was a massive success when it was released, starring Cameron Diaz, Drew Barrymore, and Lucy Liu as the Angels. The movie was filled with action, a bit of comedy, and one of the strangest performances ever delivered by Crispin Glover.
ever. Oh my god, that guy needs help. One interesting addition to the cast was the inclusion of Ghostbusters alumni Bill Murray as the man behind the mic Bosley. Apparently, the set was anything but a comedy after Bill found out a scene was rewritten without his knowledge. In an interview with the news outlet Deadline, Lucy Liu spoke about her time on set and the situation surrounding Bill's outburst. Apparently, he was away for a family event when a scene needed to be reshot for the film. Instead of using a stand-in, it was decided that the scene could be filmed without Murray's character being involved, so the scene went on without him. When he returned to find the change was made while he was gone, he was furious. He reportedly shouted at half the crew, including Lucy herself. At first, she wasn't sure why he was aiming his comments at her. She didn't write the scene, she wasn't the director. She asked if Bill was talking to her, which sent him into a full-blown meltdown. She decided to speak out on Bill's behavior on set, and he was ultimately written out of the sequel. Lucy is proud for speaking her mind despite being a relatively unknown actress at the time, and is glad that Bill's career seems to have suffered for it, because Lucy was just the first of many celebs to comment on his behavior, but let's save that for another time. At number 8, Jennifer Aniston. In 2010, Elle asked actor Jay Moore to describe his most awkward interaction with a female celebrity. Moore responded with a blind item that involved a certain leading lady who was upset to learn that he would be playing her love interest. This mystery diva reportedly yelled, "You've got to be kidding me," right to his face. He then revealed that the behavior that followed led to Moore regularly, quote, "go to my mom's house and cry." Asked if the actress happened to be Aniston, who played his love interest in the 1997 film Picture Perfect, Moore said he will never ever answer that. Well, on his More Stories podcast, he did answer that. Moore claimed Aniston pointed right at him on the first day of rehearsal and screamed, "6 guys they screen test. 6. The one effing guy I hate, that's the guy they hire." This apparently went on the entire day as Aniston kept bad-mouthing him to their co-star. Regardless of what really happened on that Picture Perfect soundstage, Moore has apparently never forgiven Aniston. In 2016, Sports Illustrated asked what was more satisfying, kissing Jen Aniston or firing Tom Cruise's character in Jerry Maguire. Moore answered, without question, firing Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is hotter. At number 7, Jennifer Lopez. The 2020 Super Bowl saw 2 pop icons taking the stage and making the night about them and not football. Shakira and Jennifer Lopez appeared together. They absolutely slayed, and their performance has gone down in history as the most memorable and shimmy-filled night in the NFL. Unfortunately, Jennifer did not want to share the stage. Following the show, as a part of her Netflix documentary Halftime, it was revealed that she was extremely annoyed at the NFL for forcing her to share the stage when she felt strong enough on her own, literally calling it the worst idea in the world. Her main concern was the fact that herself and Shakira were meant to occupy and share the same amount of stage time as a normal solo act rather than doubling it like she assumed would happen. Solo artists are normally given between 12 and 16 minutes of stage time, with most artists using that time to do a mashup of their most popular songs. In the documentary, a clip revealed that Jennifer yelled at her music director, complaining that she had 6 effing minutes, 30 seconds per song. Not enough. The worst idea is putting multiple people on the stage. To prove her wrong, one of the most recent performances on the Super Bowl stage saw 6 major artists share the 12-minute spot. Dr. Dre, Eminem, Snoop Dogg, 50 Cent, Mary J. Blige, and Kendrick Lamar were all able to make it work and work well, but Jen couldn't even fathom the 6 minutes she had to perform. At number 6, Jared Leto. Jared Leto has been a problematic figure in the world of Hollywood throughout a majority of his career. After first gaining notoriety for portraying the character of Lane Dixon alongside Dennis Quaid and Danny Glover, Leto quickly began building up his acting repertoire with roles in iconic films like Mr. Nobody, Girl Interrupted, and even taking a turn as the Clown Prince of Darkness, the Joker, in the 2016 film The Suicide Squad, which landed him a spot on this list. Jared has always taken method acting to the extreme, losing and gaining weight rapidly over and over again. It was this film in which he may have snapped. While playing the iconic Batman villain, Leto purposefully distanced himself from his fellow actors on set, and reports are that he sent his castmates used adult toys. At one point during filming Captain Boomerang, actor Jay Courtney found a live snake in his trailer following a long shooting day. The snake wasn't venomous, but I think we can all agree that's a big old nope. In recent years, he's claimed that any gifts sent to his castmates were sent with the intent of joy and excitement and were received as such. I don't know, exposing your fellow actors to your bodily fluids and actual snakes doesn't sound very exciting to me. At number 5, Wesley Snipes. Ryan Reynolds is known for many things. He's got his toes dipped into the world of adult beverages, wireless cell phone coverage, and he's even a soccer coach. One of his most iconic roles as an actor is, of course, Mr. Deadpool himself. However, in 2008, Ryan was a part of a different Marvel movie. As some may know, the original Marvel movie that started this whole live-action comics trend was the Blade trilogy, starring Wesley Snipes as the titular vampire hunter. By the time of the third film of the franchise rolled around, Wesley Snipes was just done with working on set. He hated the way the franchise was turning out, and all of his creative suggestions were quickly shut down. His main problem, though, was the fact that Blade Trinity was written as a straight-up comedy movie. The previous entries were dark action movies filled with gore and some pretty stellar fight sequences, so when Van Wilder was cast to be his co-star, he gave up. He famously refused to film several scenes unless he was allowed to keep his shades on, and apparently he was micro-napping during scenes because he just didn't care anymore. Ryan played a big part in his difficulty enjoying the shoot, making it his mission to make Wesley snap. He would constantly do bits, push things too far, just the general Ryan Reynolds chaos that we're used to at this point. At the end of the day, Blade Trinity ended up burying the franchise and was one of the most chaotic and toxic film sets of 2004. At number 4, Kiefer Sutherland. The man, known for his roles in movies like Lost Boys and Stand By Me, has built a nice little place for himself in Hollywood. For a long time, he was starring in the crime drama 24. Many celebrities have made small cameos and recurring roles on the show, but in 2010, Scooby-Doo actor Freddie Prinze Jr. was cast as Agent Cole Ortiz. Despite the massive success of the show, the job left him scarred, admitting that he hated every moment of it. According to Freddie, Kiefer is the most unprofessional dude in the world. Continuing to say that he wasn't talking trash, this was something he would happily say to Kiefer's face, and apparently a ton of his co-stars agree that he makes filming a living nightmare. Following the end of his character's time on the show, he did slow down in the acting world, now limiting himself to voiceover and cameo roles. The odd thing was that while there were some backing up Freddie's story, there were a higher number of defenders for Sutherland, claiming the exact opposite experience. Some say he's the most professional man in the world, so if anyone watching this knows Kiefer, weigh in. Are you Team Kiefer good or Kiefer bad? At number 3, Alyssa Milano. Alright, so let's talk about the show Charmed for a moment. A solid series that was on the air for almost 10 years. The series followed 3 sisters who discovered they were descendants of a line of good female witches and are destined to fight against the forces of evil. Yeah, it was a fun show, however, just because you play sisters on set doesn't mean you're as close in real life. Rose McGowan and Alyssa Milano had a very public altercation that resulted in a little incident on set being shared with the world. Rose claimed that Alyssa threw a fit in front of the crew yelling, "They don't pay me enough to do this stuff," only she didn't say stuff. She called Alyssa's behavior appalling, claiming she cried every time the show got renewed for another season because it meant more time on a toxic set. Alyssa never shared her own comments on the situation, confirming what she was being accused of. At number 2, Richard Gere. Richard Gere is one of those actors that doesn't really act. Sometimes people just get hired for films because they have the face for it or the style. For Richard Gere, he did not have enough class and moxie to keep a handle on his role in the film The Lords of Flatbush. He was cast to star alongside Rocky himself, Sylvester Stallone, and according to Sly, these two did not get along. Their beef was strong and long-lasting throughout production until it finally came to a head when one day Richard was a little too into a scene and grabbed Sylvester aggressively by the collar. When Stallone told him to lay off, he laid in instead. The scene was being filmed on Coney Island, and when the actors took a break, they tried to break each other. Stallone was eating a hot dog alone in a car. Sounds peaceful. But suddenly, Richard stormed in to join him with half a chicken dripping in mustard. Despite Sly's warning about the mustard, it dripped all over his pants. In true Rocky fashion, he elbowed Richard in the head and threw him out of the car. The altercation resulted in Richard being fired from the project. Oh no, we have to decide between Richard Gere and Sylvester Stallone. I wonder how quick that decision was. And at number 1, Dustin Hoffman. Dustin is a very easy man to spot. Not only is he a solid actor, but he has a very specific face. Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium, anyone? Remember that movie? I did not remember that existed until I started writing this script. I will be watching that tonight. Despite his ability to play lovable and cheerful characters, he actually started out as somewhat of a villain. On the second day of filming his more famous part in Kramer vs. Kramer, Dustin decided to improvise a scene where he strikes his co-star Meryl Streep across the face. Let me rephrase that. Dustin Hoffman thought it would be a great idea to strike Meryl Streep. Mamma mia, that's not okay. Not only was Meryl shocked by the move, but she recalled that Dustin was also trying to use a tactic on her called emotional recall, taunting her about her late partner John Cazale and his illness.
Number 10. Billy Ray Cyrus. In 2022, Billy confirmed his engagement to Australian singer Fire Rose, who was 34, as he revealed that he popped the question just 4 months after his wife of 28 years, Tish, had filed for a divorce. The achy breaky heart hitmaker made the revelation in an interview with People People magazine, in which he gave some insight on his relationship with the musician nearly half his age. He got candid about his mother passing away and insisted that there is no rift with his children after this split. Billy Ray and Fire Rose revealed that the two had actually met 12 years ago as she had an audition on him and daughter Miley Cyrus's children's show Hannah Montana, and they remained in contact. Ugh. Despite claiming there was no issue within the family unit, so far it seems like the kids are not stoked about this being their new mom, especially considering their mom Tish reported on the divorce papers that Billy hadn't lived with her for like 2 years, making many believe that he started seeing Fire Rose well before he got divorced. You know, while he was still married. Number 9. Sterling Knight. Sterling only made a handful of appearances on the show, but he certainly made his mark as one of Hannah Montana's love interests that doesn't exactly work out. Hannah Montana was actually one of the few shows that Sterling ended up being a part of. He was also cast in Sunny with a Chance, So Random, and Starstruck, but his most lucrative role was playing alongside Zac Efron as his son in the film 17 Again, which is a weird movie that I bet you forgot about until I just mentioned it. Since his days at Disney, he has unfortunately fallen into the category of one of the brokest cast members. He made small cameo appearances in films and TV over the years, but he hasn't had a significant acting gig since 2015. Nowadays, he just tries to work, but when he's not working, he likes to travel across the globe. Not really sure that's a great way to save money, but who am I to judge? Number 8. Moises Arias. Moises was of course the young Rico Suave on the hit series, who was an entrepreneur of the beach. Willa and Jada Smith's daughter Willow seems to be a big fan of Arias, as they were photographed together on a bed in 2014 when Arias was 20 and Willow was 13. As soon as the photos began circulating, the internet began calling Moises some truly disgusting names, and rightfully so. A 20-year-old man showing romantic interest in someone 7 years younger than himself is not good. Will and Jada responded to the photos by saying they don't do punishments in their house. The way they deal with their kids is that they're responsible for their own lives. They give their kids as much control as possible at a young age to learn life lessons as quickly as possible. Family of the Year right here! While nothing much came of the photo other than some negative press and rumors, this is definitely a messy moment for Rico Suave. Number 7. Mitchell Musso. Mitch played Hannah Montana's best friend Oliver Oaken on the hit Disney sitcom, and when the show was coming to an end, he started dominating the Disney scene. He got casted to voice Jeremy in Phineas and Ferb, and played one of the titular kings in Pair of Kings. He was also in something called Hatching Pete, but we won't get into that because it is a disturbing movie that brings back bad memories. He seemed to be on track to follow Demi Lovato as the next big thing to come from Disney. Unfortunately, his career came to a screeching halt in 2011 when he was arrested in Burbank, California. He neglected to slow down after being directed to by police, who reported that the moment the window was rolled down, it was like some cloud of no-no juice just came out, uppercutted them in the nostrils. He blew a BAL of 0.8, which for those of you who don't know means that he was absolutely indulgent in the no-no juice. He was arrested, forced to participate in the no-no juice educational program, and charged with driving under the influence. Needless to say, it doesn't really go with Disney's vibe, so he was recasted on Pair of Kings, his prank show got cancelled, and he was basically just blacklisted entirely. He had also been trying to make a music career at the time that just nosedived into a toilet, so if you like to find out what he's doing these days, just download one of his songs online and he'll probably track you down somehow. Number 6. Miley Cyrus versus Billy. Ever since Miley Cyrus was born, fame has been in her blood thanks to her father Billy Ray Cyrus. In the pop star's new Hulu special Endless Summer Vacation Continued (Backyard Sessions), she opens up about growing up with a massive country star dad and how their relationship to fame had differed throughout her life. When Miley was born, her dad had a #1 country song, Achy Breaky Heart. She then explained what it was like being raised by Billy Ray, who is 62 now, and his ex Tish after her father first experienced fame, which made for quite a different life than Billy was used to as a kid. Miley grew up opposite her father on a soundstage. After accompanying him on tour growing up, Miley had duetted with Billy several times throughout her career. While she doesn't have great memories about her time with her father, and she described the environment growing up as a dangerous place. Her father was obsessed with fame, which meant that he would eat it up when something went right. He was so focused on his success that he neglected Miley, and her relationship with her father is strained to say the least. But there may be more drama behind the scenes yet to be revealed. Number 5. Jason Earls. Who could forget the classic line, "Dang Flabbit Jackson!" It's perfect. That's right, fans of the show surely recognize Mr. Jason Earls as Jackson Rod Stewart, aka Miley's big brother, but fun fact, Jason was like 30 years old when he started playing this character. He was in his mid-teens. Good for you, dude. He was a lovable goofball who always had something going on. This man was literally the physical embodiment of ADHD. I love him. Following his time on the show, he nabbed the role of Sensei Rudy Gillespie on the hit Disney XD series Kickin' It, which was genuinely one of my favorite sitcoms as a kid, and the show centered around Rudy running a Bobby Wasabi dojo, which was a failing karate studio in a strip mall. The show ran for 4 seasons before suddenly being cancelled in 2015, and Jason was left wondering where his next check was going to be coming from, or what his next job was going to be. Following Kickin' It, Jason ended up taking an unplanned hiatus from the acting world, a hiatus that finally ended in 2022 when he returned to the acting world in the Disney Plus show High School Musical, the series. They really needed to workshop that title a little bit better. Apparently though, he's been involved with that show beyond the screen since it first aired as a mentor to the young actors. Jason is considered to be a Disney darling and currently teaches the next generation how to be just as energetic and chaotic as he was. Number 4, Shanika Knowles. Now I know what you're thinking, and no, despite sharing the same last name, she is not related to Beyonce and Solange, but she should be. It would be pretty cool if everyone with the same last name was related. There would be so many Smiths in the world. Shanika played Amber Addison, one half of the duo that made up Miley's tormentors. Amber and Ashley made Miley's life a living HE double hockey sticks, with Amber being played as a jealous type. She thinks she's a great singer, she's the editor of the school yearbook, and she was the first in her class to get a driver's license. Isn't that special? After the show was cancelled, it seems like Shanika probably should have been telling people she was related to Beyonce. Unfortunately, her acting career never got any bigger than her time on Hannah Montana. During her time, she starred in a couple of movies like Jump In alongside Corbin Bleu, but even that was in a much smaller capacity. She was never able to find her place in Hollywood, and she currently sits in that pile of actors that never move on from the House of Mouse. So say hi to Mitchell Musso for everybody. Number 3, Cody Lindley. Cody was probably the most memorable love interest to ever appear on the sitcom. Sorry, Justin McCartney, you're not the one. Cody played Miley's on and off again love interest Jake Ryan, returning over and over again until the show's final season. If you were a fan of Jake, then I have great news. If you hated Jake, I have bad news. It actually took a few years for him to stop acting following his time on Hannah Montana, but he was able to snag a role in the Sharknado franchise, specifically 4 and 5. I looked it up, there are 7 of those movies. Hey, whoever keeps doing that, please stop. Outside of his role on Sharknado, he's unfortunately found it difficult to find work, because during his time on the show, he was in a ton of projects, either produced or developed by Disney, but the moment the show was over, it was like they put a do not hire stamp on his forehead, which is a shame because I saw some of the clips from Sharknado, and it was kinda entertaining. Number 2, Billy Ray Cyrus's Old Town Road. What a great name. It's 3 first names all in one. Billy Ray Cyrus, so you know this dude's gotta be a country singer. Billy Ray is not only the fictional father of Hannah Montana, but he was the real life papa as well. Now, Billy Ray was a welcome addition to the cast of characters that made up Hannah's life, being a silly but grounded father figure who actually had a lot of wisdom to share with the young fans. Following the show's cancellation, Billy made the decision to focus on his music career instead of going into acting. Now, he appeared in a few movies here and there, but it's really his voice that got him back into the mainstream thanks to his vocal track on the song Old Town Road, as well as his appearance in the music video, going from sultry country to Old Town Road. You can find any and all of his songs on Spotify, and I highly recommend you do listen to them and support his midlife crisis. And at number 1, Miley Cyrus. Taking the top spot on this list, of course, is Miley Cyrus because she's probably still the most famous cast member to ever come out of the sitcom, but for the most problematic reasons. Starring of course as Miley, aka Hannah Montana, Miley doubled as an actor and a musician. I can still hear the climb ringing in my skull every time I walk up a hill. Her epic voice and talents as an actor nabbed her a sitcom that lasted 5 years. That's awesome. And when the show was done, fans wanted to know where Miley was going next. Well, that question was answered in 2013 when she decided to show the world that she was no longer some goody two-shoes Disney girl. She was now a woman with her own free will. And she used that free will to swing on a wrecking ball in her birthday suit, and started one of the most popular dance moves of the 21st century that I still cannot do. Is it the hit? Like, I don't know. Following the end of the series, she focused on her music careers and stuck to it for quite some time. I'm not saying that she doesn't sing anymore, in fact she pumps out a lot of tracks all the time, but when it comes to the acting world, she's kinda just played herself in movies and TVs more often than not, but she had some voiceover roles in movies like Bolt and Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, that happened. But in films like Night Before, Pop Star, Never Stop, Never Stopping, she's just herself but a wilder version. And honestly, it's not that far off.